So math, as many of you know, is my specialty. But I'm going to bring you a little history quiz today, okay? I'm not that great at history, but I got a little history quiz for you to start this off. Are you ready for it? The answers must be in your heads, okay? Keep the answers in your heads. You don't want to give it away for anybody else. First question, what year did America declare its independence? Oh, you're all such good students. There's always that one, that blurts it out. Would that be 1776? Did we get that right? Okay, good. Next one, fill in the blank. To be independent, we became a blank nation. Remember, keep it in your head. To be independent, we became the answer is sovereign. Very good. Sovereign nation. Last one, true or false? To be sovereign is to be self-governed, to have supreme authority. True or false? Everyone? Ooh, we're afraid. True. That's the definition of sovereign. Self-governed, supreme authority. So how many of you got all of them right? You can show of hands there. A couple of them right? Okay, no matter how you did, your reward is you get to listen to this sermon. Okay, that's your reward. Congratulations. You're the winner. No chicken dinner. Now the next question is not a quiz, but it is the big question that I believe this sermon will answer for you. And it is this question: do you understand God's sovereignty? Do you understand God's sovereignty? That He has supreme authority over the whole world and your life. That He has an actual plan, a specific plan for your life, and there really is no such thing as luck. My son was asked just recently, do you believe in luck? And as a 12-year-old, I was curious as to what his response would be to that question. Do you believe in luck? And his response was, no, God just does it. And I love that because it was so matter of fact, and it was just a simple explanation of this great, really couldn't be confusing definition of God's sovereignty. God just does it. I love that definition. That's his understanding. God is sovereign. God is sovereign whether people will acknowledge it or not. Because there are people who will not acknowledge it. But God is working behind the scenes to accomplish His plan. He's in charge with supreme authority. But here's the mystery, I think. How is God in complete control, and yet we have free will? Isn't that somewhat of a mystery? Because we're not puppets, are we? We don't have a puppeteer over us, a puppet master. We're still choosing. We're still making our own decisions. We're still taking action. Yet, nothing we can do will ever mess up God's plan. Which is good news because we have a tendency to mess things up. Do we not, people? Some of you are really, really good. You're extra good at messing it up, and you know it. But you can't mess up God's plan. He is sovereign. And friends, if you'll hear it today, you really need to hear it. I hope you lean in on the edge of your chair and you hear this. With your free will, you can join God in His work. With your free will, you can choose to join God in His work. You can be the one that God uses to accomplish His plan. And that is what Esther did. That's the book of Esther. The key verse is in chapter 4, verse 14, when her cousin Mordecai says to her this: "For if you keep silent at this time, Esther, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place." Why? Because Mordecai believed God is sovereign. "But you and your father's house will perish. But who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom," my favorite words, "for such a time as this." And that's our title this morning, for such a time as this, to join God in His work. I love the book of Esther. I love it. It's a wonderful story. It's so amazing, it's been made into movies. Because it has such an awesome, twisty, fun ending. And at the same time, God is in control. I give you the quickest version of the story of Esther. She was a quiet young Jewish woman living in a foreign land, Persia. Persia was the world power at the time. It's after exile. The Jewish people had been exiled out of their homeland. She was being raised by her cousin named Mordecai because her parents had passed away. She probably had no real big dreams for her future, just a simple life, but God had other plans for her. It was the queen of Persia who made a mistake. The king divorced her. And out of all the beautiful young virgins in the land, Esther was the one chosen to be the next queen. Imagine that. I wonder who planned that. Now, trouble came to her cousin Mordecai, and actually for all the Jewish people in the entire province, out of all the provinces of Persia. And the king's right-hand man named Haman hated Mordecai, hated the Jewish people. Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him because he was like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They wouldn't bow down to anyone but the one true God. Haman convinced the king that all the Jews must die. He signed it into law. 127 provinces from India all the way to Ethiopia. The date was set. The clock was ticking. The end was near. How would God rescue his people? Esther. Esther. She was the answer. God would use her. She could ask the king for help, but she could only speak to the king when he called for her. Because if she went to him and he didn't do what he needed to do for her to speak, and that was to extend his golden scepter, she would have to die. Mordecai urged her, for such a time as this. Esther asked for a 3-day fast. The moment of truth came. The story unfolds brilliantly. I feel like it's a Hollywood type ending. The king allows her to speak. Haman's anti-Semitism is revealed, and he's actually hanged on the very gallows he set up for Mordecai. The king allows the Jewish people to defend themselves. They are saved, and many will read the book of Esther and think she is the hero of the story. But I'm here standing before you to tell you she's not the hero. God is the hero of the story. God is always the hero of the story. He saved his people. Esther joined him in his work. God is the hero of your story. God's plan is to redeem the whole world through his son, Jesus Christ, and God wants you to join him in that. Will you be like Esther? That's my question for you this morning. Will you be like Esther?